Good morning, good morning, good morning! Welcome back to Children's Church. I'm so glad to have you here with me. And all this month, we'll be talking about small things to a giant God. Today's lesson is 5 smooth stones. Anyone who's been in Children's Church before, you probably know what story we're talking about. We're in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17. Let's go ahead and jump in there with our nice paper Bibles. If you don't want to get a paper Bible, that's fine. You can do your phone. If you would like to read along. If you don't want to read along, that's fine. I'm going to read it to you. We respect all levels of literacy here. Chapter 17, verse 1. The Philistines gathered their forces for war at Skoa in Judah and camped between Skoa and Azekah and Ephraim. That was the best I've ever pronounced Hebrew. Please applaud me. I've never been so smooth at that. Saul and the men of Israel gathered and camped in the valley of Elah. Then they lined up in battle formation to face the Philistines. The Philistines were standing on one hill, and the Israelites were standing on another hill, with a ravine in between them. Then a champion named Goliath from Gath came out from the Philistine camp. He was 9 feet 9 inches tall. That's absurd. Why? And wore a bronze helmet and bronze scale armor that weighed 125 pounds. There was bronze armor on his shins, and on a bronze sword was slung between his shoulders. His spear shaft was like a weaver's beam, and the iron point of his spear weighed 15 pounds. In addition, a shield bearer was walking in front of him. He stood and shouted at the Israelite battle formations, "Why do you come to line up in battle formation? Am I not a Philistine, or are you not servants of Saul? Choose one of your men and have him come down against me. If he wins in a fight against me and kills me, we will be your servants. But if I win and kill against him, then you will be our servants and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "I defy the ranks of Israel today. Send me a man so we can fight each other." When Saul and all the Israel heard these words from the Philistines, they lost their courage and were terrified. Now David was the son of the Ephraimite from Bethlehem of Judah named Jesse. Jesse had 8 sons, and during Saul's reign he was already an old man. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to war, and their names were Eliab, the firstborn, Abinadab the second, and Shammah the third. And David was the youngest. The 3 oldest had followed Saul, but David kept going back and forth to tend his father's flock in Bethlehem. Every morning and evening for 40 days, the Philistine came forward and took his stand. One day Jesse told his son David, "Take this half bushel of roasted grain, along with these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp. Take these 10 portions of cheese to the field commander. Check on your brothers and bring confirmation from them they're all right." So David got up early in the morning, left the flock with someone to keep it, loaded up, and set out as instructed. He arrived at the perimeter of the camp as the army was marching out in battle formation and shouting out the battle cry. David left his supplies in the care of the quartermaster and ran up to the battle line. When he arrived, he asked his brothers how they were. While he was speaking with them, suddenly the champion named Goliath came forward and shouted his usual words. Previously, an Israelite man had declared, "Do you see this man who keeps coming out? He comes to defy Israel. The king will make the man who kills him very rich." David spoke to the men who were standing around him. "What will be done for the man that kills the Philistine and removes his disgrace from Israel?" The people told him about the offer, concluding, "That is what will be done for the man who kills him." David's oldest brother, Eliab, listened as he spoke to the men and became angry with him. "Why did you come down here? Who did you leave those sheep with in the wilderness? I know your arrogance and evil heart. You came down to see battle." "What have I done now?" protested David. "It was just a question." Then he turned from those beside him in front of him and asked about the offer. The people gave him the same answer as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, so he had David brought to him. David said to Saul, "Don't let anyone be discouraged by him. Your servant will go and fight this Philistine." But Saul replied, "You can't go fight him. You're just a youth, and he's been a warrior since he was young." David answered Saul, "Your servant has been tending his father's sheep. Whenever a lion or bear came and carried off a lamb from the flock, I went after it, struck it down, and rescued the lamb for its mouth. If it reared up against me, I would grab its fur, strike it down, and kill it. Your servant has killed Lions and bears, this Philistine will be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. Then David said, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hands of this Philistine. Saul said to David, go, and may the Lord go with you. I'm going to paraphrase because I just read you guys 37 straight verses. And that's a lot, so we're going to speed it up just a little bit, condense it. So first, Saul offered David his armor. Now it said that Saul stood head and shoulders above other men, so he was very tall, probably pretty broad, and his armor was very heavy, and David couldn't move in it. He was a teenager. Instead, David went down to the river and chose 5 small stones, and he went out unarmored against a Philistine, who, remember, was wearing bronze armor from his head down to his calves. And Goliath laughed and said, what am I, a dog, that you come at me with sticks? And David said, no. I come to you in the name of the Lord of the God of Israel. And he took his sling and he swung it. 1, 2, 3. And he let the stone fly. And 1 small stone felled the giant. 1 small stone when in the hands of a giant God, brought down a giant man. And now the Philistines did not stand by their word, but the army of the Israelites brought out their courage at seeing David fight and bring down the giant, came forward and had victory. And David would later be anointed the next king. But at every single turn, David was told, no, you can't. You're too small. You're too young. You can't do this. You're not even supposed to be here. 1 small thing in the hands of a giant God. A giant man was no match. 1 small stone, 5 small stones, 1 small boy. But the faith of a giant God. That's what I want you guys to remember this week. And all this month, we will be talking about small things in the hands of a giant God. That's what I want you to remember. And I will see you all next week for another lesson.